Are you ready for a whole new world of excitement and endless possibilities?
Hey everyone, how's it going? Rybird here, and do I have a special guest for you here today? You may or may not believe it, but here he is, without further ado.
Are you ready for a whole new world of excitement and endless possibilities? Introducing Rybird and Jackson's collaboration video! I totally did not have that scripted right in front of me.
No,
Definitely not.
Not at all. Just right off a whim.
Yeah, it's just off a whim. That's how we roll. So how are you doing today, Mr. Rybird?
Pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. You know, a little nervous trying to get those nerves for the the interview portion of this pretty good, but you know.
That's how I feel right now. You know, it's like this is definitely something new for me. Like I would say, out of my comfort zone. But you know, I really think it's a great way to just really respond back to the community a lot of their questions. In the past year, just over a whole year, 90XX was just crazy. But like, I'm really excited for this at the same time. You know, this would be cool.
Now I'm really excited about it as well, and I love that we're giving the community an opportunity to ask you questions directly, and that you gave me the opportunity to be asking you. And we actually had very good responses from the community. A lot of questions were asked, a lot of them so good that I didn't even have to ask them, because the community did such a good job asking a lot of questions that they want to hear your response to. So are you ready to go ahead and get started?
Let's do it. These are great questions we got here. That way.
Speaking of the community, and I guess I am also part of the community, and the first question is actually from me. What was the main inspiration behind 98XX? Were there any specific games, movies, or real-life experiences that influenced its creation?
Okay, very good question. Good one to start it off. So, for a while, I already had experiences in making games. I already published at least a number of them. At least I had 2 on Steam already. So I already had a fair amount of experience with game development. But it was at that point, I didn't really know where I'd go next. And, you know, constantly looking, it's like, what would I make that would sort of stand out? You know, it's hard to really think like, you know, what would actually work, you know, with all these other really good games coming out. What could I make that would really actually be something sort of unique, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of was debating certain ideas. And one of them that was always in my head for at least a while, at least that it was there, like this idea for like quite a few years before that, was like being on an old computer, like a computer simulator. And obviously, you know, an old computer game or like, and I quote, virus game that hacks your computer has already been done. Obviously, there are many games that have done that. And I've seen, and I thought they were really, really interesting how it's like, it's not really hacking your computer, but it does. I'm like, that's really cool. But also at the same time, it's like, I've never actually made a horror game. Take that as you will with like Night of the Nutcracker. I wouldn't really consider that like a full-on legit, like unique horror game. That was more just like a fun little FNAF fan game I made by Christmas. But with this one, I'm like, what if I made a horror game like from the ground up, like my own take on the horror genre? And a computer getting hacked or my computer getting messed up was one of my biggest fears. So I'm like, what if I take that into consideration to actually do something that would scare me and have it like mess with your computer with like, you know, fake blue screens, you know, stuff like that. There were a lot of other games that did stuff like that, you know, reading your PC name that I thought was really interesting. So like, what if I incorporated that myself in my own kind of way? So, you know, that kind of is how it started. Developing. So I kind of built the desktop, and you know, you see like, you know, the start menu, you know, a couple of programs. I'm like, I don't know what programs I had first, but I got the desktop up and running, you know, the startup login screen, and I was pretty happy with how it turned out. You know, it wasn't anything too crazy. It just was enough for what it needed to be. So I'm like, okay, so what could I do first that would, you know, incorporate the horror aspect? And, you know, a lot of it is, you know, and I quote, EXE games. So I'm like, I'll put an EXE game in this computer. And, of course, 98XX, the name, I just, you know, it came out in 1998. I'm like, okay, what's cool, 98, and then just XX. So that was it. It just was off the top of my head. There wasn't much thought put into the name. I'm just like 1998, so just 98XX. I just thought that sounded cool. That's where the name came from. There really wasn't much thought put into the name. It really just came off the top of my head.
No, I like that, and it's pretty suiting for the game that you made.
Yeah, I'm still happy with the name. I think it works pretty well. Especially, I try to also come up with a name that's like very different than any game name. Like I try to at least make the names very unique. So that one, it kind of, it sounded interesting to me, so I rolled with that. So the first game I decided to make was Jumping. Obviously, we all know Jumping Julian, the infamous. We all know him by now. And by the way, I will say this is kind of off topic, but his design looking like Baldy, I roll with that meme. I really think it's funny how everyone's like he's related to Baldy. I will say his design though is very coincidental. I didn't even think he looked like Baldy in my mind when I was making him. Like it kind of just came natural, like an uncanny. I want him to look like an uncanny, CGI like old computer style character. Yeah. Those bug eyes, his weird looking mouth. So that's kind of where it came to be. And I don't know why, and I'm like, so that's maybe where his design just came from. Is my Baldy wasn't even in my mind, but it might have been when I just like made him. And I'm like, okay, I can see it now. I didn't even mean to do that, but coincidentally it did. But they're both like, uncanny old 90s characters, so I think like it works still, and I really embrace the meme from the community, how, people are like they're related somehow. I really do embrace that, and I really think it's funny. Yeah. Me too, it's great. Anyway, back to, Jumping Julian. And when I was making this game, even though I said like in my mind the idea was cool, I still wasn't considering this being a published game. I really didn't think like it deserved to have like, a big marketing standard or anything like that. I just thought like I wanted to make like, because many times before I would make games for fun or just like, to learn and grow my experience in game development. And this was one of those games where I wasn't really dedicating this being like a fully published big game. So I just did Jumping Julian, like we all know happens, you rage, you die, the computer restarts, and, and then jump scare, blue screen reads your name, all that stuff. You already know. And everybody knows by now. So, and that was it. I'm like, okay. So I decided to send it to my cousin, because I would usually send him my games to try as like a prank. And because if you look, it doesn't look like something you'd take seriously. And I didn't. I really thought like, just this game alone, like this is kind of like a spooky joke, So I'm like, okay. Yeah. I sent it to him, but when he played it, he actually was genuinely surprised. He's like, this actually has potential. Like I can see this having potential if you like add some more stuff to it, polish it up, and then publish it actually to see what happens. So I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So I spent more time actually trying to add some polish to it, add some more, I guess you could say, depth to it. So I added some more programs, gave everything actually a purpose, like secrets, a small story, like a backstory for like making sure the secrets actually led somewhere so people could feel like they're discovering something. Yeah. So, and then it was my first time, like I knew kind of what ARGs were, at least in terms of like a QR code in-game leading you outside the game to somewhere else. I've never done something like that before, really understood what a full ARG, I do now, but at the time, like through this, didn't really understand what it was, besides like the QR codes and stuff. So that from that point is where I started. So I originally, this is before 98XX World was made. If you remember, there was no website. It was more just like small external websites that I had access to. And, it would be really messy, it would be glitchy, but, I did it. I added like it in game, and it would take you. And some people still found those secrets interesting. So like it still was like a good start, but like this, there was, I guess you could say humble beginnings. that's where. So that's kind of what I did. I wanted to like make first time kind of doing ARG horror. Like this is like my first ARG horror, and I quote ARG horror experience, and so that's kind of where that started. And I was gonna just put it out there for free again, because like most of my games are just free, because I'm just like I still felt like I was still at beginner level personally.
Yeah, like still learning and making it.
I was still learning and stuff, so I'm like, it's still such a small game. I don't really want to put a price on it. But I had friends and family tell me like, you should, like you constantly put out free games. I would say just go for it and please put a small price on it, and just see what happens. So I took that advice and I said, okay, leave for like just a couple dollars. So, and just see what happens. Well, obviously not expecting much, but I still wanted to see like how some would react to it. So, and I thankfully had connections with a few people who played my previous game. Wasn't a ton of people. And, obviously you being one of them, I sent you a free copy and I'm like, hey, if you want to do a video on it, because you've done videos on my previous games, including Night of the Nutcracker and then Derealize.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see like what your reaction would be from that. So, and that's, in general, that's kind of just how 90XX was fully started.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever we're looking at jumping Julian, I may or may not have spent over an hour trying to beat some of those levels. I don't know what it was with the jump. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I did it before, so why can't I do it again?
As you can probably tell, I wanted it to feel like those really terrible old Flash rage games. You can tell like just poor design, just really frustrating and terrible looking. And that's why, like I said originally, it's not something I really thought would be taken seriously, and like it was made as a joke previously. Yeah. So I gave if I wanted to make this somewhat serious and give it a purpose, I at least gave it worked with the story, with it being frustrating and terrible, bad reviews and how it flopped. So that's kind of like how I kind of had to build off of that, So you weren't the only one who spent lots of hours. I guarantee Jason Storm did, enough to make him leave that terrible review. And you already know what happens next. We don't need to go into that.
That's really funny. And whenever you're talking about like the earlier days, I do remember those QR codes in the other site. I'm so glad that you got the 98XX World website for everything. I remember like scanning the codes and I'm like, where am I going? Where is this actually taking me?
Yeah, it confused a lot of people.
Fun ride.
Yeah, but it was humble beginnings.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it made sense because that you were utilizing the tools that you had available at that time. And then touching a little bit on the ARG experience, that in its own is like a wild ride. Even like in the game, whenever it would open up your browser and just start doing stuff, it's like, where is this going? And then all of a sudden, like it opens up like, here's your IP, and that's exactly where you're sitting, and it's like a satellite view of me sitting in a chair, like you just never knew where it's going to take you or what was going to be searched up, and that really did add to the horror element of it, because you just didn't know. You're at the will of the computer at that point.
Yeah, and I'm glad that worked, because like I said, that scared me, so tried to incorporate that in that kind of way. So it's like, if that scares me, then it might potentially scare someone else, and that's the whole point of it being a horror game.
Yeah, you have like your antivirus like going off and everything, being like, what are you doing there, bud?
Yeah, and it's like, that was not even my fault. Apparently, like, I guess that makes it more legit, but like in terms of like an antivirus flagging it, that's out of my control.
That's funny. When you said that, I had to add it as a firewall exception.
Oh my goodness!
I trusted you.
Okay, that's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a really good question. Good one to start off.
Well, thank you. And continuing on, we have a lot more questions from the community. So this one is from the Gator, and it is
the one and only.
The one and only.
I know who this is.
What was your reaction first watching someone play any of your games?
Okay, great question. So, again, I was only used to like, and respectfully, like, it was more like channels that were like less than 100,000 subs. So like, I more expected like, okay, people that I've connected with, like you and a couple other channels, are the ones who would play this, and I wasn't used to like anyone else just like really finding the game. Mm-hmm. And I assumed like if a game was free, more people would play it, and yes, that is true. So like, my expectations of people playing this one now with a price on it was even less. Besides like the few people I sent it to, so I'm like, maybe it could kind of get the word out there a little bit, but I still like this. I wasn't expecting this to be the game that would really like go into motion of being like career-wise or anything really huge or anything. But I still had like certain ideas, like I kind of left it open-ended if it did continue, like if it did grow at all, like just potentially, like I just thought like if it did. But I still was like, I could do better in bigger games down the line that would potentially like go and set off into motion. So that's why I didn't really consider in mind that this would take off much anywhere. So I was like, okay, there will probably might be a couple videos show up, but I wasn't expecting much. And then when I saw your video, like yours was one of the first I saw, and it was really awesome to see, your reaction to you playing it, you finding the secrets. I remember you contacting me, asking for hints for some of the secrets, and I did kind of help guide you in certain ways for some of the cryptic ones, which I definitely think helped add to the video. And helped others who were secret hunting. You were kind of like a guide for most people.
It's so funny. I would get stumped. I would try it, and I'd reach out to you, and it'd be no. I'm just teasing. You would help me, but it was just funny though, because I think I was looking for like, oh, this is exactly how you're supposed to do it, but you would still want me to explore and find it out on my own, which I do appreciate. But at the time, I'm like, oh, like what is this?
Wrecking your brain on it,
Exactly.
I do think it did add to the experience, because like once more people, we'll get into that in a minute, but once more people like found more like together would work together as a community to like solve secrets, but back then you didn't have any help. There was no like guides, no one was playing the game. But it wasn't until like right when your video came out, I started noticing like more comments, more views, and I was like, okay, maybe some people have found it. And I started like searching. I'm like, did anyone else make a video on this?
Mm-hmm.
And they did. Like there's some bigger channels, one of them being Salus, and then there's Special Eddie, and there are a couple others. And it was like, wow, I never at all expected their people to actually play it. Like channels that large actually playing it and being interested with and it was crazy. I was just mind blown and shocked. Like this was the game that actually was noticed by like bigger channels, and I couldn't believe it. Like, because again, I didn't really think this game was like, like worthy of like having that many views or like that many people play it. So it was just really cool to me, and I'm like, okay, maybe I did have something here. And seeing like some positive responses. There was obviously like, you'll get like positive, negative responses, but like really seeing like people interested in it was just super cool. I know a lot of my friends and family were excited. Like I was really excited. It was like it's every game developer's dream to like have like even just like it was already cool enough just to see like one or two people play it. Seeing you play it, that was like one of my like original games. It was like really, really cool, and it was just unbelievable. Like I was just so shocked and excited that people were actually playing it, and it was one of my best memories, just seeing those videos pop up, and it was so cool. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think even what Jacksepticeye even watched it too. It was really neat seeing it, because I published a video and I would like look into it and like see who else is doing it too, and like there are some like huge names playing it. I'm like, this is amazing. I was generally like I said, even someone like Jacksepticeye, that was really shocking. Like I was not expecting that, and he's such a nice guy, and I really, even since your video, I always would try to like comment a thank you, just because of like how appreciative I am to like these people. Like no matter the size of the channel, it just really meant a lot to me. Just seeing someone go out of their way, out of all the games on the internet, they chose mine, and it was just phenomenal. And I really just had to say thanks, and that's just how it came from there. Yeah, being someone obviously who like plays different types and a lot of like indie horror games, even having the dev go out and watch the video, I always appreciated so much. Like I would, for like Night of the Nutcracker, whenever you first said like thank you for playing it, I like pretty much told everybody, I'm like, hey, the dev actually reached out to me of this game thanking me for playing it. And I feel like it's a mutual experience though for both, because you want people to play and enjoy your game,
right? And me actually have feedback,
yeah. And then playing it on my end, it's really nice to see that it's actually like acknowledged by the dev. It's really nice having that like communication back and forth with them, because the games are fun and I enjoy playing them. So like seeing you comment whenever I first started playing them was amazing. I love that.
Yeah, but no, absolutely. When I just like seeing any video, I just really wanted to show my appreciation. So just seeing anyone's reaction to it makes my whole day, no matter what kind of reaction it is. It's just really cool.
And continuing on, this one is also from the Gator. Do you have ideas and or videos that were supposed to be uploaded / added to the game but were canceled. What was the reason, and will they ever come back and or be a reconsideration?
Really, really good question. As you know, there, like many games, there always will be an idea for that could be in consideration or was implemented but didn't actually go with the execution in the end. And yes, there were moments and ideas that I had for the game that didn't really, go forth. One of them in particular, I know a lot of people are asking about it, so this also could really answer that question. In the full game soundtrack that I uploaded, I do have a couple unused tracks in there. One of them is just called Unused Tracks, so I didn't really give much context on what that was for. Actually, that was it was the theme for Kingdom Quest. I actually planned on having full background music for it. And once I put it together, it is very similar to, Asteroid Blast, Ball Popper, like all the other Calvis games, music. So it just had a different tune to it. So I was like, I was just like, okay, this is the song. Because I made the song before I made the game. Like, I would make the songs for it first. And I'm like, I'll make the game built around that.
Yeah.
So that song originally was for Kingdom Quest. But when I made the game, the song just didn't really fit. And I feel like just the silence and the little sound effects add to, the experience. Because then it gets, eerie and just, I just feel like that if you heard the track, I don't know if you heard it, it actually really didn't fit well at all. So it ended up just being unused, but I still kept it and decided to publish it anyway so people could hear what it sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's just an unused track. So that was one of the major ideas or things that didn't get implemented into the final game.
I'm glad that you added it. Because it's you still went through the effort and made it, so it's very nice that you still published it, so then everyone's able to at least enjoy it.
Right. There's another track at the end. There's in the full game soundtrack that was unused. It did have a name. It did have a name called Best Left Forgotten. And actually, that track I had at the beginning, before I even made this game, it was a track that I had for a small project that didn't really work out. And I'm not going to go into details what that project was. It's kind of just a pan script game that I was considering, and I had some music tracks for it, and that one didn't really work out, but I still kept a lot of the music tracks, some of which are actually in 98XX, some of the tracks, and Best Left Forgotten was one of them, but I didn't use that one because I just didn't think it worked, because I had basically better ideas, and people were saying was it the original ending sound, and yes, it actually was an ending jingle, something that you hear at the end, but the way the endings panned out throughout the game's creation, I just still didn't think it fit anywhere. So that one also was unused, but the name Best Left Forgotten still is in the game soundtrack, and people were theorizing that it was one of the original endings, and yes it was. They got that correct.
It really is Best Left Forgotten then, if it didn't make the cut.
Quite literally, yes. Very, very, very true.
It's hilarious.
Very, very true. In terms of any other ideas and videos, there really wasn't much. Really, if anything, the ideas kind of just shaped into more of what it is now. So most of the ideas that roll off the top of my head kind of stayed. There really wasn't much that I really scrapped or removed. That altogether, it kind of just came to be what it was. Besides those couple music tracks.
Yeah. Speaking of the videos, not that it ties into ones that didn't make it, you did a really good job on all those videos.
Oh, thank you.
All well done, and they're good editing. I know you went through the effort, because I think you physically have a 98XX computer at your disposal.
I actually, yes, I did. I do actually have a physical one, and I will say, before I even did game design, video editing is something I've done for a long time as just a side hobby. I even took class for it, and just in general, I really dived into video editing, and I also love making videos as well. I personally wouldn't actually make videos full time, but I'm glad I've been able to do both with game design, and that's what's made this so much fun, is making those videos. So I've been able to do multiple things I love.
Yeah, game development's really one-stop shop. You have to make your own stuff, your own sound, your own music.
It's true.
All the media, everything goes into it. It's all, unless you have a team, but it's all you.
I mean, yeah, and obviously it's I will say I don't want to consider it's just me, because obviously when it comes to like inspiration or different like certain like creations, like certain music, obviously you got to have the rights to it, obviously, and I made sure that I did first, and obviously I'd credit them. I still consider this not just me, but everyone, all the like other people who contributed, even the actors, voice actors. This wasn't just a one-man job. Like even you, when you're in the update 2.0 commercial, it's a team effort. Still, it's really not just a one-person job. So, and I'm really appreciative to everybody who contributed to it.
It was it's definitely interesting being in it too, because it was like one of my. Obviously, I was like more than grateful to be a part of it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. Again, talking about like nerves, like from the beginning, I was like, whew. I think I like recorded like 10 times before sending it to you.
It's totally okay. That's I know a lot of other people who are contributed to the game itself, for the videos, that they had to take a lot of multiple takes, and even when we made that video with the actual 90XX, there were so many takes we had to do, but it was a lot of fun. Just in general, just been a lot of great memories.
Yeah, that's pretty good learning experience too with all that.
For sure.
The next question is also from the Gator. What was your reaction seeing the growth of 98XX? Did you at any point decide to dedicate even more time or money to developing the game because of it?
Okay, so yes, as before, also good question. That the growth was also unexpected, but seeing like now all of a sudden, I have people saying like, where's the second update? We want to see more. What comes next? And now I'm like, oh my goodness. Now people are wanting more. Like now people are really interested in this. So I'm like, okay, now I'll keep going. Because now I feel like with it, which is just the original, first launch, I could say, not really an update, I guess say a version 1.0, just 1.0 before 2.0. That originally, so now I'm like, okay, now it needs to have more to it. Obviously, people want to see more. So I'm like, now I gotta build off of it. Because if you look, originally there wasn't. It was like its own small section. Like if you go to update 2 from the jump from update 1.0 to 2.0, there's a lot of big changes and a lot of elements that stayed consistent throughout, like all the way to the final release. Where originally all those elements were lacking, and that's because I've had to implement more. Because originally I didn't have anything else planned, but I'm like, now I got to dedicate more because people want it. So that's why at first it seemed like extremely different, but I still was able to connect a lot of elements from before. But I also had to change many different elements to make it work with new elements, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like each update you did it worked very well. It was very cohesive with the overarching story, and it just, each update worked well in its own.
That's good. My goal was because one of the hardest things I will say is now I felt like I had there was some pressure on myself too, that now people have expectations. So there'd be many moments where I would be making it and I'm like, this isn't good enough. So I just had to walk away and really think and try to make it better. So that's what I did. So eventually I tried not to overdo it, but just made it okay. This is good, and I finished it. So I put it out there, and so far a lot of the people who are really interested were happy with the new additions, and we're always excited for the next step. So that was really motivated me to keep going.
Yeah. The next question is also from the Gator, and there's quite a few from the Gator. Again, all good questions, but you'll probably hear me say that multiple times. All right, did you start working on 98XX with the intent of making it a full release game with several updates, or was it a byproduct of the game's progressive growth? Are there any plans for merch related to your games or Jackson Game Studios?
Okay, so a couple questions in one right there. Both good, both very good. I'll address that, and I kind of addressed this a little bit before, that I didn't really have the intent of making a full big game. This was kind of just a small learning project like most I made before. I was used to just making games for fun as just learning experiences until I felt like I was ready to take on a huge project, which I did. I guess I would consider Brigadoon one of my first actual projects, and then D-Raz being another, but I still felt like I wanted to still make small projects to learn and grow more. I guess you could still say this is 90XX was one of them, because I still took each update as a learning experience. And originally its base release did help me learn a lot of new game design features that really, grew my knowledge. But I also didn't really have the mindset that I was going to constantly make this, more and more to the game. But I also left it open-ended just in case, because I'm like, anything could happen. But I wasn't expecting anything to happen, because we don't know what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really, but I didn't also, so I guess you could say I kind of did add more to it because it was growing, but not just because it's like, oh, now people really want this, I'm just going to milk it. No, I saw that people were interested, and I wanted to provide something more to, still pique their interest, and because if this is what really people wanted, I was now excited to see like what I could do that would, keep it going. So I, kept adding fresh ideas, and, from there it kind of just like grew, but I still had certain things open-ended just in case, obviously my intent wasn't just to keep it going just out of popularity. It was more just, now people are interested, I could see like, what else they'd want to see, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And there definitely is a lot that goes into game development. So the same thing goes with me and like making videos. It's really nice to see that people are receptive to your videos or games, and then that they like it. That's like the biggest thing. Like, I make videos because people enjoy it, and I want them to enjoy the content that I produce and make.
Right.
And it gives you the motivation, because if no one watched it, nobody liked it, there's kind of really no point in continuing, and then motivation kind of sizzles off. But knowing that people like it, want more of it, it definitely gives you the motivation and like strength, especially if you're in like a downward slump or anything, just to keep going and make people happy because they're enjoying what you made. And it's a lot of work. So
absolutely. And as long as you enjoy it, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm like, this is an open door to continue my passion, but also interact with others, not just like, oh, I'll take all this money, it's like, it's really popular, I'm just gonna milk it, it's like, no, I really felt like this is a good way to interact with people and just do what I love, and also have people, interact as a community, and myself interacting back with them. Just really, I saw this as an open door opportunity to just be a great experience for so many people, including myself.
Exactly. So, the merch question, I noticed you have stickers available.
Right. And yes, and people asking about merch. Yes, we do have stickers. So it was our first, I'm right now currently only merch planned, and let me address this, that as 90XX again is more just like was like a passion project for a while, and just like something that I feel like is good as it was, and I didn't really plan on selling merch for it at all. But over time, like, I know I had a lot of people request like some kind of merchandise. They're like, we really want to see some kind of merch. But I feel like t-shirts and like plushies and all that is kind of a bit too much for a game the size of 90XX, at least in its current state still. So I thought like, stickers are great. Stickers are simple. I feel like they'll work, and just like, really provide the merch, for the people that really wanted it. And I'm really happy with how they turned out. But in terms of like anything else, we don't have any plans currently, but we never know what could happen in the future. We'll just have to see how it goes any further.
That's fair. Not gonna lie, I was like looking for a shirt to wear, and I was like, only I had a 90XX computer.
You never know. One day we'll see. Who knows? Well, you never know. Like I said, I didn't expect any growth at all at the beginning. So, we don't know, because I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what could happen in the future. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens, right?
No, exactly. All right. The next question from the Gator: would you still have continued game development even if you were to see no community growth / engagement? I feel like that almost ties in a little bit to what we were talking about previously.
Yes, and what you said about your video making. This is a very, very good question. Originally, when I was like, making games, there were many moments, where I didn't see anybody play them, or like there really wasn't any interaction or growth. Sometimes that would be discouraging, as you said. Like, when you make a video and like no one's watching it, it can be discouraging. I totally get that, and I've been there before. I felt that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was always a driving force that said, keep going. Don't give up, because there's always still room for improvement. You're obviously not just going to come up with one idea and you'll never have ideas again. So I took that into consideration. And once I made 90XX, again, more of just like a small little project, not expecting it to go anywhere else, I'm like, I'll come up with more, even better ideas over time as I keep improving, and I'll just keep going. So even if there was no growth from it, I wouldn't have stopped. There would have been still many games for myself I would have kept making. And I just saying now, like, I know there's still many ideas for myself that could still be made. So even if it's your passion and you really love it, there's no reason to give up, even if there is no growth. Just see that as you've had the learning experience and just keep going. And that's been my driving force. So even if there was no growth, I definitely would have not stopped making games.
That's pretty good. And I also understand, I also have that drive.
Yeah.
Where it's like, even if it's a little bit slower or low, just keep doing what you like.
Absolutely.
And hopefully with time, everything will be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true.
Next one from the Gator. How much thought goes behind expanding the lore? Was it all planned before, or is it fresh ideas on the spot? Do you try to connect all of it together or branch out with new parts of the story?
Okay. First lore question. Okay. Okay, so this is a very good question, though. Very good. I will say that ideas like this, ideas constantly come in my head where I can picture a story, but at the same time, I can't really think of how it would all piece together. So I actually need to I make like bullet points of like certain timeline events of what would happen this and what would happen that first ahead of time before I act, because I have ideas I make first, like this, because I have two different sides. I have a side of ideas for a story, but also have another side of ideas of the game. And at first they're two separate ideas. I kind of merge them together over time. And sometimes where I'm like, this can't work, I can't merge this, I have to rewrite it, because I want to at least make it cohesive and work where it's not like a mess where you can't really piece anything together.
Yeah.
Because originally, like I said, remember I didn't have everything planned out. It was more just a small chunk of the story. And that's why by the time Update 2.0 came out, the story kind of felt very different from the first one. It's like all these elements came out of nowhere. You know, at least the introduction of Calvis Games didn't come until Update 2.0, which is like one of the main aspects of like the story and through the game all the way till the end. But I've been able to connect it back to the original, and that's why you see consistently once the 2.0 came out, I was starting to plan at least the whole story altogether. And I had to like rewrite things from before because I didn't have everything planned out. And now, like, through each update, I had already a story planned for each update, even if ideas had to be incorporated through it. So obviously not everything was incorporated all the way to the end, like from the beginning, like at least from Update 2.0, I should say. There were at least the overall story throughout was pretty much made. I only kind of added or changed things like throughout as more ideas came to be, but the whole story kind of formed together right around Update 2.0 through Update 3.0, like at least right after, because the first one I would say the first base game was kind of its own different story. Obviously, it's not a different story completely, but I would say it was different. It's still its own thing, and I really had to rewrite and change a lot of things by the time I was creating Update 2.0 and then so on.
I mean, it makes sense. At that point, it was just like taking shape and exploring the hobby, whereas 2.0 was trying to connect it and piece it together. And it makes sense that you would have like two separate tracks, right? Like the main story and the game. So then you know what you want, but then it's like, how do I piece it together to make it a nice cohesive chunk?
Yes.
All right. This next one from the Gator. Do you plan on expanding the variety of secret/puzzles you will use in games instead of just things like QR codes, Morse code, hex, ACI, and Caesar's cipher?
Okay. I saw this question and I was looking forward to answering this one, because I have seen, at least now, there's been a lot of critique on a lot of reuse of the same puzzles. Because originally, I wanted to make sure each update had a new incorporation of a puzzle. but at least one new one. The only thing is people, and I see this now as a problem. I guess you could kind of say it's a problem, but I guess I could see it could have been done better. Is have every single puzzle, because what someone addressed is once you know what the hex codes are, people can just translate it and boom, they found the secret, instead of it being like a new way to solve it. So it's like kind of just in some words it's very repetitive. And sure, I did add different ciphers throughout it, and one of the biggest things was the code block in the final game, like the grid with the letters.
Yeah.
I was really happy with how that turned out, and a lot of people really liked that, but it wasn't incorporated enough, I would say, and a lot of people noticed that is it could have had more potential than it originally did, and a lot of it was still just reuses of hex and Caesar ciphers. And I look back and it's like, those are cool and all, but I just kind of wish I had more variety in how I incorporated the deciphering than how it was by just find a code, translate it over and over again, rinse and repeat, where it kind of became too repetitive. And since that, some people didn't mind. I know a lot and didn't mind how it ended up, but I just see that, I look back and know that a lot of those puzzles could have probably been implemented a lot better and have more variety.
I might have been one of those people that appreciated that it wasn't drastically different, I suppose. Okay, I was like, hey, good. I actually recognize it. The puzzle block thing was pretty neat. But just speaking of that, it's, I guess technically speaking, if you have a certain entity or program within the computer, it would also make sense that it would utilize the same or similar codes. Sense. So if it's a hex code, jump a juling, pushing out ASCII, don't quote me on that, but it would make sense that that would be the repetitive theme with that, and then with other aspects of the games they would take on a different type of cipher. But it was interesting to figure it out. Man, was I aggressively searching ciphers. So.
Right. I agree. It could still work in some ways, but like I said, the ideas were okay. It's just the practice could have been better. Like anything, I could see a lot of things could have obviously been implemented better, and if I were to make another game down the line, as the question asks, would I do any other puzzles? Yes, I would try to add more variety and do different things. And I like how the code block could have been implemented a lot in more different ways. I feel like that was one of my best puzzles, and a lot of others agree. They just wish it was done more, used more, because that one could be used in different ways with it still being the same puzzle. So it is what it is. But if I were to make another game down the line, I would try to, if it was puzzle related, I would try to make sure there was a ton of different variety.
Yeah, that code block one was pretty good. I'm pretty sure I saved that one till the end.
Yeah.
But even some of the other ones, for the remake that I did, just starting fresh entirely, I even missed that. I'm pretty sure it was just hex code on the blue screen. I couldn't believe it. Something so right in front of my face that I've done before completely just passed right over my head. And I was like, oh. Because I recorded it raw, it was 5 some hours. I'm I can't believe I missed that of all things.
The dedication is real, man.
I wanted to do it justice. Obviously, as you know, I recorded each update as it was, but 98XX, its year anniversary, the game was fully released. I wanted to give it and everyone a fresh start.
I really worked out perfectly.
Yeah, so people just coming in, they'll have a fresh video to see from beginning to end.
Yeah.
The next one's from the Gator. What are some of your struggles being occupied with both working on your studies and being a game developer? Was there a point where you forced yourself to make progress even though you felt unmotivated? How does managing both of these make you feel? Okay,
great questions right there. This is a really good one. As many know, that I was also in college through all of this, and there has been a lot of stressful moments where I didn't have I would work on something, but I just didn't think it was, because back to what I said before, I felt like I had pressure to, make it, really deliver the best it could be for other people who are anticipating it. But now it's I really also had to now mix time with my studies, and also there were moments where I didn't feel motivated, and I'm like, I can't work on this because it'll end up being rushed, and it'll just not turn out good. And overall, I just like, many moments what I had to do is just walk away, and walking away and just relaxing, or even just focusing on my studies instead, kind of helped later on an idea just come back, and I would be able to really implement it good when I found the time. And that's kind of why the updates were more spread out and less consistent. But I still feel like they still are a lot better than what they could have been if I still just forced myself to make progress. They could have been really rushed and unfinished and turned out pretty bad. So I'm glad that in many moments, I would just take a break and just not worry or think too much about it in the moment where I was feeling overly stressed.
That's sometimes really hard to do, just to like back away for a few moments, like collect yourself. I'm pretty big on like trying to plow through something, I suppose. But yeah, sometimes you really do just need to like sit back, relax, and then that way you can kind of like get all your thoughts together again, because that's a full schedule.
Yeah.
Balance studies, and then the game, and then mostly, family life as well. There's a lot to juggle. So you did a good job with that. I don't think anyone was, upset with the update schedule at all. But obviously all of us
That was really
forward to
appreciated,
it.
Yeah, like no one really was super demanding, which really meant a lot. It's like I felt like the pace was, okay with that reason. Like most are like, we've been waiting way too long for this. Where is it? I really felt like, okay, they're happy with the pace that is at, very understanding.
I was just happy you're continuing to work on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to give up. Like, we came far enough, and I'm like, I'm not going to stop here.
Yeah. See, I knew what you had too, because occasionally I'd reach out seeing how you were, because I knew I knew you had a full workload there to balance. So
yeah, it was a lot, but I will say overall it's still a great experience. A lot to learn.
This question is from the Gator. Do you
He's
feel...
on a roll. My man Gator's on a roll.
For real. Do you feel that the community is growing so big and so fast that you won't be able to engage and talk directly with the people as much as you wish you could?
Okay, good question. Now, as much as I've said that like it has like grown, like it's gained attention, I never once felt that it was growing like crazy. I feel like the pace and like where it's at a great amount where I still feel like I'm easily able to interact with people, where it's not like overwhelmingly thousands and thousands, millions every day. No, it's like been a really nice pace that's, not been super stressful or anything. Not saying there hasn't been stress, of course, but it's just really been, welcoming. And what I really love to see is that the community that Unused has built has been a really welcoming one, where everyone just feels excited to talk about, what they love. Like, people have been able to like share like their fan art, their theories. Like, it's just been really incredible, and I've been able to interact back with them. That, even if over time where I can't interact as much, or I just, can't really say anything in that moment, and it has lightened a little bit than like when it first started, or I haven't been able to, say or been able to respond to every single comment or every single message. But it's still been nice to be able to interact with the community still after over a year in its development. So, and like I said, the community is so welcoming. I love every single person there. Like, every single person has just really been welcoming to even new people. It's just really incredible. And I'm just really happy. Most would be like, you want your game to constantly grow in masses, but I feel like this one has been, just enough. And I'm really thankful for where it's at currently.
Yeah, and the community is pretty good at like essentially engaging with itself, where someone will ask a question, or there's like nice conversations going a lot of the times too, that it's very easy to just kind of hop in, say a few things, and obviously, like life happens, but it's very nice just to be able to go in and just have a good chat with everybody.
Yeah, and it's always a great time. Like, it's always fun, it's funny, it's great, and I'm glad in the moments where I do get to interact. It's always, worth it.
I do think it's funny though. It's as soon as you see like in the Discord like Jackson typing at the bottom. I'm pretty sure everyone like holds their breath, just like waiting to see what you're gonna what you're gonna say. I know that one time I was too. I like started typing something, and then I saw you typing at the bottom. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna wait to see where this goes.
And then it's just like, hey, how's it going? You know, nothing crazy. Or people, or some could start deciphering my messages. I don't know. Don't. I wouldn't recommend it, but I can't stop people from like trying to decipher everything. Some really look very deep into things, very, very deep into these things.
Yeah, they like extract your like audio, your like straight audio from like this recording, and like this is a capital A, and yeah. The next question's from the Gator. Have you experienced burnout or artistic block so far? Do you feel that this could be an issue in the near future? Do you have any way of overcoming it?
Okay, so this is very similar to the other one. A couple questions ago. Yes, I have, like I said, I have felt lots of burnout, especially when I had my studies on top of it. But like I addressed, the biggest thing to work around it is just walking away. And every idea that comes in mind, because there are moments where an idea really, really works in my head, that I need to write it down immediately so I don't forget it. It really does help, so I can bank those ideas, and then I have a list of them just ready that I can implement, so I already know what to do when I start developing it. Because there were many times where I would try to sit there and just try to make something off the top of my head. It doesn't work, and if it did, it would be rushed and not turn out good. And a lot of my games that I most of the time haven't published, like there are a lot of games I would just make where I did just make something off the top of my head, and you know, they weren't good, obviously, but you know, I still like learned how to make them. But in general, it's good to bank your ideas in many moments where it just hits you, so you don't forget them. And that's what's really helped me overcoming any artistic block and burnouts. Just like taking a break and waiting for that idea to really come to mind.
It is really good to write down ideas on the spot. I've done that many a times where it's like I'll have like a few good things, and then I like the end of the night sit down, I'm like, no, it's gone. And then I probably lost so many ideas by not just kind of like doing it on the spot.
right
I can't think of any examples because they're all gone.
Oh no. Okay, man, we all been there.
We have a few more from the Gator, and I promise I'm gonna let other people ask questions.
Gator was on a roll here. He had a lot to ask, but these I appreciate, Gator, if you're watching this. These are all great questions. We really appreciate it.
They are really good questions, and Gator did a really good job with, you're right, asking all these questions. And whenever I got like the full block, you know, I was kind of like, would you be able to prioritize these and what you want to see potentially asked first? And they actually put a good amount of time and effort into reorganizing the list. So I also greatly appreciate it, you taking the time and reorganizing these for me so I could give them here. So this next one, how many hours a week did you spend developing 98XX?
Okay, very good question. Now, I can't really give a full logistic answer for that, because there'll be days where I spent at least like all day, which would be like several hours on it. But then there'd be some where I can only contribute a single hour, or maybe some none at all, because I had to contribute other responsibilities. So really, it really depended on what day of the week. Eventually, by the end of the school year, I would have a schedule where on weekdays I could only dedicate time to school, where on weekends I would actually dedicate many hours to 98XX. And at most, I think, because in case we were busy that day, would probably be at least 5 to 6 hours worth of content to work on. And that would usually be at least once or twice a week. So it really would change throughout. I mean, I would spend more time beforehand consistently until I had to spend more time on my studies. So really, it depends on what my schedule looked like.
Yeah, I mean, it really does make sense that it would fluctuate depending on what was going on.
Yeah.
Like if you had an exam or something coming up, like obviously you couldn't really spend enough time, but it was really good that you devoted like the weekdays kind of like planning out. That's always a very smart idea. So in that way, it's already like in your books to do.
Mm-hmm.
The next question's from the Gator. What were your inspirations behind developing 98XX?
Okay, cool. So I did give some little bit of inspiration, or how kind of the first original idea of 98XX started. that doesn't mean like I'm now going to go into details about all the other inspirations I had that fully made it come together, that similar aspects that grew over time from different horror games I've seen on the internet or played myself that I really enjoy. Now, one of them, Sonic.exe, with like the whole hacking situation there, that was kind of like one of the inspirations there. There was another one, it was like a cat game, I forget the name, but it really messed with your computer, like opening up the web and all that stuff, so that was a big inspiration there, or like where it reads your name. That was definitely a big inspiration for that one. So those in general, the whole thing with like the loud jump scares out of nowhere were like those old exe horror games, and many, you don't really see that anymore, so that's kind of, I thought it would fit the 90s style, but looking back now I see why many games don't do that anymore. We'll get into the big criticisms later on, but like at least for what I was going with, that was kind of my mindset, is I was still trying to make it feel authentic, to actually feel like an old game that was released early 2000s, late 90s. So my mindset was to make it also feel that way, even if it was like really janky or like loud and annoying jump scares, just like as it would be. But anyway, my other inspirations, as you can see, like I really am a big fan of Scott Cawthon's work, at least especially like a lot of the original FNAF games he created. I really loved in the third one how the story and like unlocking certain elements were implemented. A lot of people were like, this is just like that, and they're absolutely right. I was really heavily inspired by how that originally was, with finding secrets and unlocking things, and I really wanted to see something like that happen again, so I kind of did something similar, and it really, I feel like, complemented the game in many great ways, because like I said, Scott Cawthon, very genius game designer, even Dan Salvato with DDLC. And another one, really a couple big inspirations. The Simulacra games were some of the most scariest but well put together games. With it's like you're on a phone, where this one you're like on a computer. So I'm like, where something random and creepy would just happen out of nowhere, or sounds in your ear that sounds like it's coming from real life, just really added more to the horror aspect, and I really think it complemented this game. So there was a lot of inspiration there. A lot of the psychological stuff, the flashing images, really came from Stories Untold, another horror game I really loved and really got into. So yeah, there's just a ton of inspiration all around from these games, and just overall I really think it's complemented the game. Because again, I will say, a lot of things are similar, and a lot of ideas obviously have been done before. But I think at this point where it feels like every idea has been done, in general, just I feel like it makes it and the next game able to be inspired by another one, because that game did so well, and just shows the impact it made on the gaming community, and seeing that someone was inspired by another's work just really can complement their game. And I just feel like it overall, a lot of ideas can be similar, inspired, and it just really helps make the game better, and just really caters to the genres that people love, and being like, I really love this game, this one's similar, I want to really try that too. And you may like it, you may not like it, but I really just think that inspirations just make the gaming community so much better.
No, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you're right though, with a lot of things have already been done, but you're telling it through a different light, and your tale and your collection of experiences and what you find scary, like what you've seen before, like what works, what doesn't. It all goes into making a brand new story. And that's perfect, because it really does help push others to being like, hey, this worked out pretty well. Sure, it might be like similar to like another game, but it's again like your own experience through what you've noticed before. So then it does inspire other people to make their own story, their own tale, and kind of push the fold, if you will, that way. Again, that's also why I love the indie horror community, is just because it's all these ideas in one spot, and seeing what each individual comes up with as a telling of like their own tale.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
And to break the mold, we have a question by Everything Dude. Does he ever plan to do any crossovers for 98XX, or really any of his games?
Okay, I was really waiting to answer this question, and it honestly, like, when I give the answer for this question, it may not be the answer you were thinking of, I'm first going to say, you said, do I plan on creating any crossovers for 98XX? In a way, I kind of have already. And the big thing is that I will say one of the biggest secrets and confusion that I've added to the game, I probably, again, something I could have done a lot better. I feel like the way it was implemented is kind of, I don't know, I feel like it could have been executed better, but it is what it is. But I'll address it anyway. Is when people are like, why does it link back to his 3 games? Oh, he's just promoting his old stuff. Now, you may look at that and be like, yes, that's pretty clever to promote your old stuff. But I didn't have the mindset of doing that. Even though, like I said, for this whole time leading up to this, I didn't have stuff planned all the way to the end. But in terms of like each game I made, I sort of maybe have some kind of connection to them each time I made a new one. Because I still remembered what I made before. And now with 98XX and how it links back to those 3 games, this is one of the biggest secrets that not a single person has pieced together yet in the entire community. I'm going on a whim. This is a big reveal. That is one of the biggest key elements to the overall meta aspect of the story, and nobody has solved it yet. That is not just a shameless plug. That actually has purpose. And back to your question, have I made any crossovers for 98XX? Let me just say, I already have. We'll see if anybody solves that by now, but we'll just have to see. But that's my answer. Is yes, I have done crossovers to my game to 98XX with my other games. So just in general, yeah, it's one of those things no one really put together yet, but we'll just see if anyone does at this point. Because now hopefully this kind of directs people a little bit in the right direction, that this isn't just a shameless plug. That I did actually have an intention of it having actual purpose. But I'm obviously not going to say what that purpose is for or what it's connected. Obviously, that would spoil the whole fun.
No, that's pretty good. Maybe I'll give it a go, but I'm actually really curious to see if anyone else figures it out as well.
We'll just have to see.
I don't know if I'm smart enough.
Some people in the community go nuts. Like, they really dived pretty deep.
No, I do love how you did that as well. I did not really view it as like a plug. You've been very crafty with like a lot of the puzzles and the secrets, so I figured you trickled some of the secrets into the other games. I mean, I can see where people view that as one, but I thought you did a really good job with like linking everything together and trickling little secrets throughout the other ones. Now you got me curious, though. I know you're not going to say anything, but I want to know.
Well, because like I said, I really felt like I needed to address this, because I know that there's been a lot of complaints that it felt like a waste of a puzzle reveal. Like, oh, I dug through all the websites, all I get is just a shameless plug to his other games. And I get it looks like that. And like I said, that's why it could have been executed a lot better. I could have done something a lot more cooler than just links to the other games. But that's why I'm saying now, like, hopefully this directs people to the right direction without revealing anything, and just, makes light of the situation.
They just couldn't figure out a good puzzle. Calling people out, even myself.
I've gone a little too cryptic. That is another problem. I may have been a little too cryptic on this one. But either way, we'll just have to see what the community does with it.
Peace. No, I'm excited to see too. All right, next we have another question by Everything Dude. Are there any 98XX theories that are correct?
Okay, very good question. Obviously, everybody thinks differently. And sometimes an idea will match, but not 100%, because everybody, like I said, thinks differently. But the whole general idea in terms of the theory, there have been many times where theories have been correct. I obviously can't say which ones are correct or which ones are incorrect. But yes, I've looked at many comments or certain theories on the Discord and just the community in general on Reddit. Yes, there have been many theories that have been correct, and it's really cool to see them like go piece that part together. And it's just been, it's really cool. I love when I see that, and it makes me happy that I'm like, you really did it. You put the pieces together, you got it right. Obviously can't say anything, but it's been really cool where they predicted something from a previous update, and later on, when the update came out, they got it right. And they feel so, like, it makes them feel so much better. And that makes me happy to know that I really delivered that in a way that made them feel, good about what they solved.
That's really funny. I just see you like sitting back, like sipping tea, like they'll never get this, and be like, oh, they did.
I actually think it's cool. It doesn't like make me like, dang, I gotta make the story harder, and just so they don't figure it out. But no, I actually, it makes me happy when people solve things. It's really cool to see them like put the pieces together that I placed out for them, and they were able to solve it.
Yeah, that is actually really nice to know that you created something that some people will get like a close match to. So you made it hard enough that it's not like just simple one and done, but like hard enough that people have to like pick their brain about, and then like some people get it, and you're waiting for other people to get there as well. Yeah, I can imagine it's nice to see.
Yeah.
The next question is by Everything Dude. Is he ever going to make a fandom account and 98XX wiki? There are 98XX wikis, but none of them are real, and they usually contain false or non-confirmed information without a disclaimer that they may be wrong or that the information may be fake.
Good. Okay, very, very, very good question. The reason I want to answer this is, first of all, I'm going to say no, I will not be making a fandom account or my own wiki for 98XX. Here's why. There have been wikis made by other people in the community based on 98XX, and I'm really impressed with the information they put in it. They obviously, I feel like in this type of game, a wiki for this it's also a way of someone in the community putting their thoughts, where it doesn't always have to be 100% correct, because this is the type of game where everybody kind of shares their own ideas, whether it be right or not right, and that's why it's cool to see many people implement their own ideas. So I really I feel like many games don't really need the developer to come out and give them an actual wiki, because I feel like that would kind of spoil the experience and like the whole mystery behind it. And when you say they're fake, I don't consider them actually fake. They're made by the community, and even if there's multiple, or you could call it, and I quote, unofficial, I still think they're really cool, and the fact that they are made is is really good. So, but personally, no, I will not be making my own wiki based on the game. I'm okay with leaving that up to the community and sharing their own ideas. That is perfectly fine with me, and I'm okay with it staying that way.
No, I do support your decision with that. For someone that makes a game that is based off of puzzles and trying to piece things together, that's like, like a mental thing. Like, you really have to think about these puzzles, the story, how does it all piece together? It makes sense that you wouldn't just lay it out as is, because then there wouldn't be like much fun for other people going in later on. Let's say someone was like brand new at playing the game and they wanted to look up about it. They could just read it all in the wiki by you.
Yeah.
You're right, that takes away, at least in my eyes, a bit of the fun, because then they could just see it all right there. Whereas if it's the community making it, yeah, I could see that point where, maybe I wouldn't really want to, I don't know if I'd want to call it fake, but like their own view of what it probably is, then that kind of creates more mystery behind it and lets you figure it out for yourself.
Exactly, and that's like the main reason why I'm just letting the community do it, and I don't see any of it as a bad thing. And even if the information isn't fully correct, that's their thoughts, and I feel like that's perfectly fine. It's another way for the community to interact different ideas and really expand the imagination, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
I always do love surprises and secrets, so
I mean, what's the point?
I like knowing this.
If it's just why even call it a secret, right?
Yeah, exactly. I do love looking at all like the different fan theories as well. It's it's kind of nice to see the community coming together and trying to figure stuff out. And like you said, I know previously in another question, it's when I was like one of the first ones, I would try looking stuff up. I'm like, there's no one gonna be looking this up, but I gotta look, and then like nothing, So it's nice to see now that there's a very supportive community and everyone working towards a similar goal. It's nice to see, and that surprise and mystery element is still there.
Absolutely.
All right, the next question is from Everything Dude. If some company offered it, of course he'd make a movie, but would he make a TV show or short film?
Okay, very, very good question. There are multiple answers kind of in this one. But first of all, if some company offered it, first of all, I'm just going to go out on a whim and say 90XX will probably never get a film. No, not a movie. No, it probably won't get any of that treatment. Here's why. Now, it's rare for a game to get that treatment, and it's only if it has a really, and I mean really large name behind it. Games like Five Nights at Freddy's, Poppy Playtime, and Bendy and the Ink Machine are getting a movie because they have a really big name behind them. Where 98XX, if you really do the comparison, it really does not. And its execution, really, I don't think would work for a movie. Now, I will say that even though it is a game, the whole story actually would work better as a novel or a series of films. Not just one film, not one condensed film that feels forced. I actually think it would personally work as a storybook novel or a TV series of films. The whole, the story that's inside it. Because even though it's a game where you're finding secrets and piecing the story together, you do somewhat piece it, but I feel like it's more also just ended up being secret finding and jump scares and spooky stuff. That's okay, but the whole story I feel like it's just, again, works better in a context of a series of films or a novel. Now, I will say that will probably still never happen because of the size or where it's at currently. I'm not saying it will never, but I just don't really think it will. But in my personal opinion, I would actually think it worked better in those ways than the way the story is told in this game. I still think it could work, but just looking back on it, I feel like, what I can see where the story would work better personally.
You do make some pretty good points with that one, because this game's mostly based off of exploring the game, trying to figure stuff out yourself, whereas the mini games, stuff like that, how would you incorporate into that stuff? But I do agree that a short film would probably be more so up its alley, because you do have a good overarching story.
That's the point I was making. Yeah, it's the story behind it. The mini games and your computer hacking, jump scares, blah blah blah. That's the only thing that's in the game that would not work in either a novel or a movie or a series of films. No, it's the story behind the scenes that is vague for most of the time. That would work much better narratively than the execution it is in the game. Personally, that's just my personal opinion. Looking back on it after it's all finished.
But also, just speaking of the topic, it is kind of nice though that a lot of games are getting movie renditions, and there are indie ones, because we had Iron Lung that Markiplier's picking up. So there really could be potential. It's but you're right there. It's if a big name notices, likes it enough, and then picks it up, that they're able to support and fund it. It's obviously you probably could attempt a short film yourself, but then that that incurs a lot of things. So you'd have to do the filming, the story, who would you get? There's a lot of stuff that goes in there, whereas people who have maybe more resources to kind of put in a certain direction, they're able to
Right, and if anything, if any other indie game would get it, there's so many that would obviously deserve it more than 98XX. I will just go out on a whim and say, ones that have gained a lot more attention and have gained a bigger following, I feel like those would deserve it over 98XX, personally, for a film. So again, back to the question, there will not, most likely, 99% sure, there will never be a 98XX film.
Let's the 1%, man. Come on, it's you're telling me there's a chance.
I only did 1% because, again, I said before that I can't predict the future. When I didn't expect something to happen, it still did. People played the game, so you just can't predict the future. You just gotta take it step by step to really see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, day by day.
Like I said, if I were to make a film about it, or even in a novel, I would really make sure that it was narratively enjoyable and engaging, because like I said, the story behind the scenes has a lot of potential to be told narratively. That's just what I'm going to say.
All right, and last thing I'm going to say on the topic, if you that 1% ever decide, just keep me in mind, just you don't have to, but
I will. I will, dude. I would not leave you out, dude. You're definitely on one of my lists. You're
Hopefully the good list.
I gave you a free copy.
No, I'd love that.
Just don't test me, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to be put on a separate list. All right, but I enjoyed that question. That was good.
Yeah, a really good question.
And the next one is by Everything Dude. If he was Scott Cawthon, what would he put in the box? Kind of random question. Just wanted to know.
Okay, you want my opinion about the infamous box of FNAF 4? Okay. I actually, because I already know what this question. I saw what this question was going to be, and I already got my answer. Now, this box, the anticipation, the expectations. It's still to this day, no one knows what would be in it, and some argue that Scott confirmed himself that the contents of the box have changed over time. But you really want my opinion on what would I put in the box? I got a good one. What would I put in the box? Nothing else but a giant bag of. That's it. That's all you need. Just a giant box of lifesaver gummies. I'm a happy man. Dude, they are so good. They're my favorite candy. You can't argue. I had a bag yesterday. I might go buy another one later today. That's it. Just literally, if that was it, just open the box after years of anticipation. It's just a bunch of lifesaver gummies. I'm happy. I wouldn't be mad at all. Like, that's literally all I want. That's all it takes to make me happy.
I love that. You know what? Since I'm editing this video, I have the power to actually bleep it out or make it a cryptic secret.
So
no.
you originally were gonna do like a trickery where it would just cut, and I never actually said it.
Yes.
I think this secret, as you could call it, is very worth telling the world. The lifesaver gummies are amazing, and I declare it.
You know what? I'm gonna admit it. I support you in all your decisions. I say they're mid.
Okay. You know what?
The sour gummy worms is where it's at.
Everybody, that's the end of the interview. Rybert's off the list. Okay.
He's now on that other list. He just said he
on
didn't
that
want to be
other
a
list
part
that
of.
I have buried beneath like a million files. You get to room with Jumping Julian now.
Yeah, you're actually going to see him in the next update for 98XX. Except there's not going to be a key, just a lock.
Yeah. But yeah, they're just my favorite candy. I guarantee there's a lot of other people that would find them mid, and that's okay. I'm perfectly okay with everyone. I am perfectly okay with everyone having different opinions. That is totally okay.
You know what? They are good though. I used to knock Bits Play Games for Dr. Pepper. I started casually drinking Dr. Pepper. I would say they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
The next question is probably one of my favorites. It's by Moon. Ask him if he's taking care of himself and taking a long and relaxing break.
Yes, thank you, Moon, for that lovely question. Yes, I have been taking it easier than when I was developing it. I still, interact with the community, obviously, and still check and make sure everything is going okay. But yes, I am taking it a little bit easier and plan on taking some more breaks and just refreshing my mind over a year's worth of 98XX. I really appreciate that. She's one of the head mods in the Discord community for 98XX. Okay. Really nice person, and I want someone I could really call one of my closest friends. Really nice person, and I really thank you for that, Moon.
It's after a year developing, balancing school, home life, it's definitely good to take a break and
well definitely need
enjoy. Sure. Yeah.
Yes, I really appreciate that question. Thank you.
No, I love that one. And just when you think we are done with the Gator questions, we are actually not. We have two more the Gator questions.
William Afton style.
We're gonna circle back around. We have the Gator again. All right. Do you plan on working with the same people in the future, or maybe working with new people instead?
Yes, I would actually love to. Whatever, I still don't know what the future looks like in terms of projects or games, but I've loved working with every single person, including you, Redbread, and for making the videos or having voice actors in the project has been great. I've loved interacting, meeting new people, and having them a part of it. I would love to still work with them, and possibly even, of course, new people down the line. I would love to work with anyone who's really would be willing to. It's just been great memories meeting those people and just growing the community even more. And I would just say bonding a lot too. It's just been great, and I've really loved it working with all of them. If any of you guys are watching Voice Actors, I know you, right, we're in Update 2.0 commercial. Even in the full game, because I put you in there, because I added like every commercial prior to every update into one for the final game. And it's just been great working with you all.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity, and you were great to work with it, because you sent exactly what you wanted and told me what you're looking for. And
it worked. It really was perfect.
It did work, yeah. And I loved the opportunity to do so, because it was like one of my first times doing something like that, and I really enjoyed it and seeing what you did with it. You did a great job.
Yeah, thank you. And you did, hey, man, you did a fantastic job. Wouldn't be possible without you. And everybody else who participated, you guys were phenomenal actors. Really appreciate it.
We couldn't have been in Unused without you.
Hey, man, it's a team effort. I will not take all the credit here.
This is the final question from the Gator before we start. Actually, no, I lied. I see it. There's another one yet. All right, second to last.
We're coming to the end here.
We are coming to the end. Do you plan to have more people at Jackson Game Studios to help with game development? That's a good one.
Okay, yes, very good question. So, currently, right now, I've been okay in terms of making the game and coming up with a lot of the ideas. I've been okay doing it solo, and I feel like, and right now, that really works without, like, you know, one person giving one idea, another person giving another, and then it just gets, like, really messy. Yeah. Where multiple ideas all coming together, and it works for a lot of big games. But I feel like in terms of where my games personally right now, I'm okay for the next few years working on games solo. But again, I know down the line, because I have to think further down the line, I will not be working. I don't think I will be I cannot make games solo forever. Obviously, I can't forever. For a while, I still feel motivated and want to keep it that way. But in terms of like working on a game, like if I want to obviously grow and make the quality better and using like different tools, better graphics, and reach on different platforms, you know, instead of just PC games, I will obviously need some help, because there's only so much my knowledge can go. So I will say down the line, I will plan on working with new people and together really making a big and better game. And that's just what my mindset currently right now, where yes, eventually I would want to work with more people as a team to make a bigger and better game.
I'm not gonna lie, an iOS or Android port would be pretty legit.
I will say I've gotten so many requests for that, and I actually tried. To see if I can implement it, but it wasn't working properly. And if I did actually try to make one, it would not be good. I'm just going to say now, it would not be good. It would not work the same. This game is built and strictly really works only on a PC. At least this game currently. Not saying a game down the line won't be good for mobile, but this one currently, I just feel like would not work well as a mobile game. And if it were to come out, even if people requested it, it would just be disappointing, and even newcomers would just overlook that as a really buggy and bad game. So that's why that's the real reason there hasn't been an official mobile port.
It'll just be called something different, like when mobile phones first started becoming a thing.
Oh, I don't know.
20XX.
Alternative. I feel like that it would just be a Simulacra knockoff.
Oh,
that game already touched on the phone simulator in the best way possible. Like, I mean, that was a big inspiration for this game alone. So, like, those games are goated. I really loved watching Julian.exe Kenshin play the original.
That's true. They are pretty good. I don't know though. It'd be kind of funny, like launching your phone app and then just calling somebody random in your contacts.
That would be pretty crazy. I mean, like, it really made
scary.
You feel like you were talking to somebody in Simulacra. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's true. And the next question actually comes from myself. Did you receive any feedback from players that surprised you, that led you to change the game?
Okay, very good question. I was really anticipating this question. I will say yes. Oh my goodness, the feedback has been one of the biggest key things in this whole experience. And it's really relevant now, because now that the full game's out, a lot of people have been able to play it fully and give their actual opinion. I will say there's been mixed, really. There's been mixed responses. On one hand, there's been a lot of positive responses and like how it was exactly what they wanted. They loved what they saw. But on the other hand, there's been a lot of negative responses with a lot of constructive criticism, giving their thoughts and opinions. Now, most would say, and I know most game developers could agree, that any negative response on a game you worked hard on can feel demotivating, but I don't see that. You should see what I see that personally as it's helpful. It really does help. Like even like a negative comment or review should actually be a driving force instead, to see what you did wrong and how you could improve it next time. And that just is more help and proof that and opportunities and open doors to grow. You don't want to be stuck in the same bubble, constantly making the same ideas, same gameplay mechanics over and over again. You can see, like, by many responses, that what you did wrong could have been implemented so much better, and you can just do that for next time. And obviously everybody has different opinions. Some people may like your game, some people may not, and that's okay. Everybody has different opinions because everybody likes different things, and that's perfectly okay. But at the same time, both positive and negative reviews are both very important. They can help be your driving force to don't just see that as people didn't like my game, I'm just gonna quit now and give up. And sure, it can sometimes feel demotivating, but it should also motivate you to do even better and improve. Where somebody was willing enough to let you know what they didn't like about it and what could be improved. And I see that as a very helpful thing. So actually, to every single negative and even positive reviews, I'm really thankful and appreciative for all of them. They've really been helpful, and I look back and see that 90XX does have a lot of issues that could have been implemented so much better. I know through the review I've talked about what I could have done better, and I see that now. One of the biggest things, and I will say this was one of my first actual horror/ARG games, my first ARG in general, and I didn't really fully grasp the potential of what an ARG really was. And one of the biggest things is, some call it's not really a real, and I quote, ARG. And I look back and see that now that I've studied like what real ARGs are like, and how obviously they could have been implemented a lot better. For what it was, it's still okay, but I definitely see where their criticism is coming from, and I totally understand and embrace that. And obviously that just shows that there's room for improvement for everything we do. And in general, I'm just really thankful for every person who took the time to give their opinion and their thoughts, and hopefully I can see both from the positive and even the negative, all of that, what could be and what should be improved and done better. One of the biggest complaints, obviously, the jump scares. I know I tried to go for a more old school EXE style game, but I now fully see why that's not a thing anymore. And sometimes they could work for a funny reaction, but I feel like looking back now, they come more off as annoying and kind of take away from most of the experience. And, like I said, it's all learning experience, and I'm really glad and happy, like, each time I learn something. And I know I've learned a lot now, and that only just paves the way for a better future. So again, thank you to every person who gave their thoughts and opinions, both positive and negative. It all helps a game developer grow and go forward.
That's true. Speaking back on what he said about the jump scares, that was the theme back in the day, though.
It was like, that was my original mindset, so like I tried to make it feel old school, but obviously, like, again, you can't please everyone. Obviously everyone has different opinions, but I do understand where they're coming from. So that response and critique, I fully understand where they're coming from, and I embrace it.
I do feel like 98XX is a good blend between both, because you do have the jump scares that was pretty prevalent, but then also you have more of the psychological hitters in the game. You have like the subtle cues and stuff, and obviously that's where the horror genre is trending, at least with like modern games, is kind of more like psychological, which I also do like. But there is also a place for like jump scares, and those were pretty good. I appreciate it.
I guess in some ways they could work, but like I'm just also trying to go by like how everyone was able to give their opinion on the game, and how I can fully understand where they're coming from. And again, I embrace it. I embrace both the positive and the negative reviews, and game developers should, instead of ignoring a certain side. You'll be stuck. If you do that, you'll be stuck in the same boat and never improve. Your goal should be to improve with each creation you make.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It hurts a little bit receiving like a negative comment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It can. You're right though. It kind of like makes you like sit down, think, and reflect upon, well, what could have been done better. And that's a good side note to say. if people do, it's good to do constructive criticism as well. Instead of like, it suck, it's like, well, the game was good, however, I felt this could have been improved. There's a difference between the styles of negative comments, and that's just my own 2 cents with
right.
that.
Again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and if someone didn't like the game, that is perfectly okay. I know this is not a game for everybody, and it's only some people may like it, some people may not like it, and that's okay. That goes with every game. And that's perfectly okay. Everybody has the freedom to have their own opinions and have their own say about a game, and I fully respect that. And seeing that now, it's definitely helped with my mindset when I see a negative review. It's definitely, I have to think like, that's okay. Someone can have their opinion. That's totally okay with me, and it helps not to. It doesn't really bother me as much as at first when I was first getting them, it was more demotivating when I was reading them. But I look back now and see how it's helpful when it's like when there's constructive. But if someone gives their own opinion on it, if they didn't like it, that's okay. Like I said, that's perfectly fine with me. Everybody has their own opinions, and that's cool.
And this actually blends well with my next questions. Do you have any advice for aspiring indie devs out there?
Yes, actually, I really do. And like I said before, for any other indie devs watching or anybody just starting out game development, go into it with a mindset that you're going to make something great, that it's your passion, you're going to love working on it. And not saying it'll be easy, but just go into it with a mindset that I'm going to make something great. And, obviously no one can make anything perfect. There is no perfect game out there. So don't pressure yourself that this has got to be the best game ever made, because no one can really accomplish something. No one can accomplish perfection. All they can do is just accomplish the best they can do. And that's really just goes by where they currently are and their skill level. And that only and you won't get anywhere unless you keep, learning with each thing you make. So even if you make just one creation, let's say you finish it, you make it, and you get some response. If you get no response, you get negative response, or don't go into the expectation thinking this is going to be a worldwide success and everyone's going to love it. That you'll be disappointed. Just go into it with the mindset that I loved what I did, and I will say, getting any negative feedback or no response at all can be demotivating and it can hurt. But like I said before, see that as a way, if it's constructive criticism, as a way like, this is what could be improved, and try that for the next time. And each time you do it, you'll get better and better, and your goal should be to only improve. But the most important thing is you love doing it. If it's your passion, if you really love doing it, don't give up, no matter if someone doesn't like it or not. Because again, everybody has different opinions. Everyone can like and dislike different things, and that's perfectly okay. But I just want to say, don't give up if you love what you're doing. Even if it didn't work out right the first time, don't stop. Just keep going, stay motivated, and just know that you never give up on a dream. Never give up on a dream. That that'll be your driving force. That no matter what happens, whether it be a positive response, a negative response, or no response at all, as long as you love what you do and you have a dream, don't let go of it. Just keep going, give it your best, and you'll only achieve greatness.
I love that bit of advice. That's pretty good. It's hard to take on a hobby and really continue it, because it's daunting at first, right? Because you don't know, like, you always thought about doing it or want to try it, but as you try it, there's obviously pieces you don't know and pieces you have to pick up. And at first things may, like, they're probably not going to be perfect, but that's just all part of the learning experience and the learning curve.
Exactly.
Yeah, as you go on, continue other projects, you pick up more and more pieces as you go, and then overall it all comes together. And you even alluded to that in a lot of the prior comments, where each update you did learn something different and you incorporated something new. It's still part of a grand learning experience. That is very good advice for it, is to not give up. Just know that there are going to be hiccups along the way.
Absolutely.
You will get there at some point.
Yeah, right. And you can never get something perfect the first time. It's you can't just expect the one creation, first thing I'm going to make is going to be the worldwide biggest success, best game ever made. No, and don't also be afraid to start. I know a lot. It's like I don't really want to start my project or my game or anything because I'm worried people won't like it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it, and whether people like it or not, that's okay. And if someone gives some constructive criticism and how it could be done better, see that as a way to help you, and you just keep getting better with each one you make. Each time you keep going. Again, if you love what you do, don't stop, don't give up, and hold on to that dream you have.
The one thing I love about all that, just all this in general, is you are literally taking nothing and creating something from it. If your ideas stay in your head, they're just going to stay in your head. Whereas if you actually put it to a plan, you're taking a program that has nothing for you and you're creating something out of it, which always blows my mind, because you're reliving your tale, your experience, your story, like whatever you want in a game from literally scratch, from nothing. And that's part of the amazing like experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that.
And here we are with the Gator for the final Gator question.
The final question from Gator.
And it's a heavy hitter. Are you happy / satisfied with the current state of 98XX?
I am actually satisfied with how it turned out. Again, like I've said this throughout the interview, you guys already know that there's so many things I look back and I'm like, I wish I implemented this better. This could have been done better. I wish I didn't do this. I wish I, took more in consideration an idea. But again, the whole thing was a learning experience. And I'm, again, all together in the end, happy with how it turned out. And a good number of the responses were very positive. And again, there was a lot of constructive responses, but again, both of them help. I was happy with how it turned out, but also happy to see at that a lot of people can see what should be improved or what I could have improved. And, it's that only just paves the way for the future. So in the end, even if a lot of things I wish I could have done better and wish I didn't do certain things that a lot of people didn't like, I'm okay with that, because that just paves the way for a better project in the future.
Yeah, pretty much you gained a lot of experience from this, and
I really did.
Obviously, we all look forward to some things in the future. But that also bleeds into my next question.
It's leading up the next question.
It just keeps leading up. So, do you have any prequels or sequels planned?
Very good question. Now, I'm going to say right now, I actually don't really know. I know there's many ideas. Like I said, ideas come to my head, but I also try to take in consideration if they're worth it or if I should go forth with it.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm really unsure. It's really just up in the air. I'm okay with where that game currently ended, even though I could still see improvement, but I also am one to try to make sure every idea I do is somewhat original or a new direction in terms of a game. Something that's not like my last game. So that's, in general, I have to take that into consideration too. So in terms of sequels or prequels, I am unsure. That's a question that I really don't know how to answer, because even at the moment, I really don't know where currently it will go. But like how 90XX came to be, it kind of just happened over time, and we'll just have to see what the future holds, because I really have no idea what's to come next. But overall, I'm happy with the learning experience I had, the people I interacted with, the critiques, and just overall everything in general. I'm just been really happy with how it all turned out in the end.
Each game that you've done so far is like a different and unique flavor. Like Derealized was pretty good. That I really enjoyed that story.
I'm happy with how that game turned out.
That was pretty good. And then I know you said it was like a FNAF fan-made thing, but we're going back to Night of the Nutcracker there.
Boy, the early days.
I suppose it is, but the fact that I still have not been able to beat that game still blows my mind, and I'm pretty sure I've tried it at least like a handful of times at this point. So, do you ever think I'll beat Night of the Nutcracker, and why do you hate me that you made a game that I cannot beat?
Okay, first of all, as you know, it is a FNAF fan game. Most of them are hard as crap, so I was still going for that treatment, making it tricky, but I think you could beat it, because there was a time I did nerf it with an update. I feel like any FNAF game, it's just a lot of trial and error. I'm sure you could pull it off, and if you do, you might find something. I don't know. You never know. You never know. No pressure, obviously.
Oh.
I could just be setting you up just to waste your time. You never know. But yeah, I have faith you could actually pull it off. Just to make a comeback, because that's where it all started. You discovering what I've made. I mean, without that game, you wouldn't be playing 90XX now, probably. I mean, maybe you would. Maybe you would have heard of it, seeing it from another YouTube channel, maybe.
True.
But who knows? It wouldn't really be the same. I mean, you wouldn't have started in that 2.0 commercial, so it's really like the butterfly effect is cool. Like just seeing how far we both come.
Yeah, that's true. But please tell me that I had troubles beating that game before you nerfed it.
Yeah, I will say that literally no one could beat it originally, and even then with the nerf, like it's still like not like many people played it, nor are there any videos online of it. It was just in general built as a game. Like obviously I tried putting like some, and I quote, lore in there, which like it was just like its own thing. I'm not saying that's connected to 98XX in any way, but like it was like its own little thing at the time that you probably could solve off the top of your head. Just kind of like, because kind of with the whole Nutcracker theme. Because again, it was my Christmas, and I just looked at my Nutcracker I was given, and I'm like, this could make a creepy little FNAF style game. So that was born. It's 3 years ago now. Dang.
Is it?
That's actually, I think, been 3 years. It was Christmas of 2021.
That's insane to think about. Holy cow.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. Dang. Like I literally tinkered game development like even years before that. Crazy.
Just putting it out there. I liked the game. I thought it was really good.
It's cheap. It's simple. It does what it needs to do in terms of like a really cheap FNAF game. There you go.
Yeah, I mean you had little mini games and stuff in it too. I thought
I had to.
it was yeah.
Stick with the theme of it being, and I quote, FNAF. So.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is around December, if you want to, anyone else want to try Night of the Nutcracker,
I mean, it's free.
You'll probably
it's free. It's free. You can download it.
I'm not trying to do a plug-in for you, but it's. I'm pretty sure some other people are gonna beat it before I do at this point.
I mean, the game's already plugged in the game itself. 90XX, as everybody, it's already been plugged.
All right, so if anyone tries it and beats it before I do, let me know. I don't know if I want to know. Just keep it to yourself. Yeah, no, just keep it to yourself.
We'll see. Just everybody comment now on this video. Rye Bread, go beat Night of the Nutcracker. You got this. Just motivate him.
I don't know, or just F in the chat because I'll never beat it.
Hey, don't never say never.
That's right.
That's right. Never say never.
1% chance. 1% chance.
I guess you're right. Eating my own words right there.
That was the full list of questions that we had. We had a lot of questions by the community, of which I know Jackson and myself greatly appreciate the community in general, and providing a lot of questions here that I was able to ask Jackson himself. And I feel like we had a good time. I had a pretty good experience with this, besides the minor hiccup that I had technology-wise at the beginning. But
it happens.
I had a great time. Did you have a good time?
This was great, honestly. This was my first time ever doing something like this, but I'm really, really thankful that you had me on for today. I really think it's a great way, with the full game being out, just to really respond back to the community a lot of questions that were probably on their mind. Even if not everyone was able to ask those, I'm sure a lot of these were on people's minds, and I'm glad I was able to answer those questions. A few final notes I do want to say as we wrap this up is just how appreciative I am to every single person in this community. Like, I'm not going to take any credit. Like, some could say I made the game and everything, but it was really a team effort, and a lot of people who contributed. This wouldn't be possible without any of you guys, and I'm just so thankful for this experience. All the fan art, the theories, and just the love and the welcoming has been like more than I could have ever imagined, and I'm just so thankful to each and every one of you, every channel who's picked it up and played it, and it's just, thank you. You guys are amazing, and it's just been one of the most memorable experiences in the past year, and just, again, I don't know what else to say. You guys have just been amazing, and I really appreciate everyone, including you, Rye Bread, in this community that's made this possible.
I did have something to say, and I forgot already.
No words to that response.
Yeah, just absolutely no words. Completely stunned.
Silence. just being able to interact with, a YouTube channel who covered the game and wanted to know more, and like, being able to comment and just like really reach out to them and being able to like, chat with them about it. It's so memorable. And it really feels like, like we've been able to grow friendships, and it's just made the experience so much better that I've been able to meet such amazing and wonderful people. I obviously can't name everybody, but I do want to name a few. Like I'll just name a few. I know there's so many, so I'm sorry if I don't say your name. We have Jankster. Really appreciate that dude. He's been such a help and motivator through this experience. Even when I was getting stressed or struggling with making the game, he really was there for me. Another one is Ritalich. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but you've been a really big help with, constantly giving answers in the community with your own thoughts and theories, and just really making sure you found everything in the game and interacting with the community a lot. Really cool. Really appreciate your content. We have Don. He's been in the game. He's one of the voice actors. Really cool guy. Next we have Navi Sings. She's done the voice for Princess Angelica in the commercial and also played the game a number of times. Really appreciate the love and support she's given to the game and the community. Another one is Salis. He really kicked off the game at the beginning. I feel like without him, it really wouldn't have gotten out there, and I just really appreciate what he did. And being the voice actor, or I guess actor, of Evan Anderson in the game was really cool. It made a lot of his fans really excited to see him in part of the game. And just so many other like big channels like Ape Ryan, Jacksepticeye, and so many. Like I said, there's so many out there that I'm just so thankful for, that every single one of you, even the entire community, just you guys have made this so memorable for myself, and I'm sure for all of you guys, and especially you, Rye Bread. You've really been such a supporter for all of the games I've made, and just someone I can call a friend. And I'm just really thankful that we've been able to interact all this time, and now finally interact with this interview video.
Yeah, it has been a pretty good ride. From the first time you commented thanking for the video, just us developing the relationship that we have currently worked out very well, and I am glad to like have met you and see you like grow as the developer. And I know, speaking for the community, you've done a great job just being a part of the community. You go in, ask questions, answer things that you can. I mean, you helped me countless times with a lot of the random questions that I had with the game. And you're just very good for like being there. And that's a big part of being in the community. And I know everyone in the Discord, YouTube, anything like that greatly appreciate just you being around and being willing and friendly. It means a lot to all of us.
I'm really glad. Like I said, I appreciate everyone here. Appreciate all of you guys. And it's just been one of the best experiences in my entire life.
It's crazy to think, isn't it, that one game could change a lot. You've made like a ton of other games and I enjoyed them, so it's just amazing to see 98XX take off like it did. It's been wild. It's
way more than I could have ever imagined, and like obviously it's not like anywhere near a lot of those big games out there, but that doesn't bother me at all. For where it is now, it's more than I could have ever asked for, and I'm just really thankful what it's become for what it is. And I only hope to hopefully improve with each one I make, and whether or not it gets successful or not, again, as long as you're doing what you love and you're really just striving to improve, that's all you could ask for.
This final question is a little bit off the charts, but you still plan on making games, correct?
Of course. Obviously, like, I plan on taking it easy for a while. Yes. And again, as I said before, I want to make sure each game I make stands out in some way. And obviously, like I said, my goal is to only improve and, address critiques and criticisms that to only improve going forward. But again, I don't know what the future looks like, but I know for a fact that I love making games and interacting with people in the community. So I want to keep that going. Whether or not it grows or even if it dies off, I still want to keep that going.
I know I'm taking a bold assumption and speaking for the community here or on behalf of it, but we really do look forward to seeing what you come up with. That might just be me, but everyone could correct me if I'm wrong. But
we'll just have to see, man.
Yeah, I know. And with the community that you have and the support, there's growth ahead, you know? So we're all happy and supportive of you. So we obviously look forward to seeing what's going to occur next.
I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me on today. It's been a blast being able to answer all these great questions. And I hope everybody watching this video really enjoyed hearing a lot of insight into the development of this game.
Yeah, and thank you very much for being a part of it. I know before we teased the idea before, so I'm really glad to see that we wrap back around and we're actually able to hold a very good questionnaire between the community and yourself. Yeah. So I greatly appreciate you taking your time to answer all these questions.
This has been a blast, and I've really enjoyed doing this.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Anytime. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you later. Actually, we'll see you later.
Make sure not to leave your computers on. You wouldn't want Jumping Julian to come out and haunt you in your sleep.
I know for a fact that I'm probably already dead.
I mean, it's been over a year of you playing this game. I feel like at this point, you probably should cleanse your computer or something.
We're probably homies at this point.
Yeah, you're probably right, yeah. I mean, at this point, you know everything about him.
It's true. Alright, we'll see everyone later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.